everyone doing?
Good.
Yeah, all good?
All good.
Go do it in your room. Yeah, okay, just trying to get some quiet here before I start in my house. Okay, who we have today? Okay, everyone's here today, good. Now, before we start, Josh, you asked me a question about koshering. Yeah, what's the oven?
It's a microwave convection oven. Does the convection function need to be on for koshering, or does it?
What's the convection do? Is it heated up like with not like a microwave?
To be honest, I have no idea.
A toast. It's
like no idea.
Okay, we'll have to look at it after.
I think it just turns a fan on, whatever that means.
Just a fan.
Ari knows this stuff.
What do I know? Convection ovens.
Okay, we'll have to find out later. Okay, fine. Let's start. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Ricky, it's great to have you with us today. And Gabi, great to have you as well. Okay, let's go. Ari, you want to read?
Thank
Sean
you.
is eating. We'll let him finish eating.
Fine.
Oh, shkoyach.
Maybe he wants to
Unless
read.
you want to read.
No, I can read. I can read.
Okay.
I'll eat while you explain.
So I'll have to explain longer than usual. Okay, fine.
I'm almost done. Don't worry.
Okay, no, just kidding. Okay.
Okay. This is
The next part is quite interesting. Okay, let's go. We're finishing almost chapter 2.
This is precisely the device that the evil inclination employs against people. Oh, have we done this?
We've done this. We got to upashutu. I don't have the English, unfortunately, so I just have the Hebrew here. I'm holding in upashatu. I'm sure in the English they write pashat.
Yeah.
No. It's obvious. Maybe something like that. Would that be the word?
Yeah. Yet it is obvious, even if a person supervises his conduct, it is not within his power to achieve salvation without the assistance of the Holy One. Blessed be He. For the evil inclination is extremely tenacious, and it serves the wicked scouts out the righteous and seeks to kill him, but the Eternal will not leave him within His hand.
Right. Okay, so it's very interesting. The bad inclination, meaning the Yetzer Hara. So it's just an interesting point I would like to make, and that is in in the world of psychology, there's no such thing really as Yetzer Hara, meaning there's what your desires, what you want to do. They talk about it, but they never say it's the Yetzer Hara. It's quite interesting that in the Torah world, in the world of the Mesilat Yesharim, and so too in many the Chovat HaLevavot, the duties of the heart, they write about the Yetzer Hara as like an enemy. It's like an external enemy that we have. And we're in this war, and we have to defeat it. It's quite fascinating, the different approach. The secular world sees it more of like, that's going to destroy you, so don't let that part take over you. But by us, it's more like a war going on. And this is, and you see it here in the words he's saying, that even if a person is very capable, very smart, and pikeach, and pays attention, he will not be able to defeat the Yetzer Hara if not for God helping him to defeat it. Because the Yetzer Hara is extremely powerful. So that sounds like an external war going on. There's someone against us. But the truth is, even the Mesilat Yesharim, in the end of the day, the Yetzer Hara is all within us, right? Obviously. So it's a fight between us and the Yetzer Hara. But that Yetzer Hara, in the end of the day, is what we have to deal with ourselves. So psychology doesn't see it because psychology obviously deals with the human. But I think we look at it like that because in our world, the Yetzer Hara is the bad inclination. There's also such a thing called, is everything okay there, Josh?
We don't need to hear you koshering your convection oven.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Shkoyach, Ari. Put people in place. Okay. So what we're dealing here is with that Yetzer Hara, and we call it external thing because also is referred to, the Yetzirah is the Satan, the Yetzirah is the one that goes and speaks and goes against us in Shamayim. So there is a kind of an external element to the Yetzirah. And if not for God helping us, we would never defeat that Yetzirah. I remember once really getting a grip of how powerful the Yetzirah is with the following story. A student called me. This is in the days where Facebook was quite early in its days. So about 2 years ago. No, a little bit more than that. So Yetzirah was the Facebook was in his early days, and people said Facebook is not good because this, because that. You know, you don't have privacy, whatever. There was different elements about it. But what happened was, Benji Michelson, great to have you with us. So we're in the middle of talking about how powerful the Yetzirah is, and I was going to share with them the following story. There was a guy that I was meeting up with. Sorry. People keep trying to call. Okay, so the Yetzirah is what happened was I met with this guy, and when I met with him, he was depressed. And I said, why are you depressed? Now it's going to seem to you quite obvious, but back then this was a new phenomenon. And he said to me, he broke up with his girlfriend. So I said, okay, that could be depressing. But he says to me, yeah, but that was a while ago. So I said, so why depressed? Because he kept following her on Facebook and seeing what she's up to. And she just got a new friend or something. So whenever she posts, he keeps following her on Facebook, and he sees that. So it was the first time that I heard of such a thing, and I realized, wow, this Yetzirah is unbelievable. Because when Facebook was put together in the beginning, I mean, today to you guys, that's like, that one, obviously that's what happens. But you have to understand that that's not obviously what used to happen. Because when Facebook first started, it was more just like a way to communicate, send some pictures to family, you know, and slowly it became a platform where you can follow. Now with Instagram, obviously the following is much more and so on. But at that time, it wasn't so much like that. So when he turned around and says, I keep following her on Facebook, it was like, wow, this Yetzirah knows what he's doing. First, he starts this thing called Facebook. Kind of the idea behind it is to communicate with family. That was when Mark Zuckerberg started it. He had no clue how big this thing would become and how dangerous of a weapon it will become. And that's for me a fascinating insight. When people, you know, even let's say just having the Instagram app for ourselves, you know, when we download it, okay, we're going to be careful with it. We won't do too many things on it. We'll kind of keep in touch only with our close friends. But before you know it, it consumes people. It destroys people. And that's the koyach of the Yetzirah. It just sucks a person in. If you take sports, use sports as an example. Someone in the beginning, he just watches a little bit of sports. You know, yeah, you kind of, I don't know the way it works. You know, if you grow up in a family that's already Collingwood supporters or whichever, Melbourne supporters, whatever it is, right? So you're born into it already. So it's kind of in your bones. At the age of 3, your parents take you to a game. But I'm talking about a guy that wasn't into sports, right? And then, you know, take a sport that you guys didn't start off being into. Let's say basketball, I don't know, or soccer. And suddenly you start getting into it. In the beginning, you watch 1 game, 2 games, or you follow the World Cup of soccer. Before you know it, you're an addict of soccer. And every game, you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning because your team is playing Manchester United against Liverpool or whatever, and you have to watch how your team loses, right? So, you know, it's like a person like really gets into it. And then I remember experiencing this on Awesome. One of the years we took a trip. There was I don't know which, the AFL or whatever, one of them, or footy, whatever was playing. And the guys on the bus, you know, they're in the middle of enjoying themselves in Israel. Like, take advantage. You're on a bus in the Holy Land, man. You're having a good time. You're surrounded with your friends. You're traveling. You're having a great time. What is he doing? He's sitting in the back of the bus with earphones watching a game. And, like, he's upset. Believe it or not, the guy was upset. Well, his team was not good, and his team was losing. He's like, "I'm so stupid. What is he doing?" Like, he was really, like, living it, right? You get sucked into things. The Yetzirah has this power of sucking people into things. And we're we don't realize that we're dealing with a powerful thing, which is an angel, really. It's the Yitzhara is not only our bad inclination within us, it's actually an angel that created a world full of desires. That's his job, that's his task. And he tries to get us to fail. So if not for God really helping us against this power, it's a godly power because it's an angel. If not for something helping us to overcome it, really one will struggle to overcome it. That's what the Mesilat Yesharim here is pointing out, which is it's frightening in a way. Okay, you ready?
Yep. At the same time, if a person oversees himself, the Holy One, blessed be He, will assist him, and he will be saved from the evil inclination. But
but at the same time, right, as he's writing here, once a person does put effort, so a person will say, what's the point of putting effort? If it's so powerful and he will overcome me, what's the point in putting effort? And the answer is, if you put your effort into it, if you try, then God will help you to succeed. If a person doesn't try, he will not succeed. But if a person tries, then God says, okay, you put in your effort, and I will do the rest. So we see the same on a physical sense. A person has to try and make a living, and God helps him that eventually succeeds. So too, when it comes to spirituality, there's a concept called ishtadlus. I try to be more spiritual. I try to do the best I can under the circumstance that I'm in. If it's my family circumstance, it's the city I live in, the circumstance, whatever the circumstance is. We're not our whole life in Neve or Sameach or some yeshiva or some institute that we're surrounded spirituality all the time around us. That's not the situation. That's not real life. Real life is you're out there in the world, and you're going to have to deal with the real world, the fake world, the real world, however you want to call it, the world out there. And a person can't just live with his mindset of, oh, if I'm in seminary or if I'm in yeshiva, then I steig away, then I'm growing and succeeding. But if I'm not on a awesome 2.0 trip, or I'm not in yeshiva, now I'm just like, it's not, that's my circumstance. You have to do the best you can in your circumstance. And if it's, example, Ricky, he's studying medicine or whatever it is, it's hard. You have to put time, you have to fit it in, right? But you do the best you can. And if you do the best you can under your circumstance and you put the effort in, then the rest is God sorts out. And you see this with many people that you would never imagine that would be where they are in their spiritual growth, in their character trait growth. You see people that you never thought will get to where they are today, just as a human, just in the behavior. But you don't realize, and I don't realize, how much effort they put in to try. Once they put in the effort to try, then things happen that you can't explain. And the ones you least expected of succeeding, of growing, of developing a better character trait, of being able to deal with difficult stuff, suddenly come through. They're not the brightest people necessarily. It's not about if you're bright or it's not that. It's how much effort they put in, which you're not aware of, and I'm not aware of, because we don't know the effort that every individual puts into their circumstance, under their situation, their type of family, their type of friendships, their type of city they live in. So that's what he's pointing out here. Even though the Yitzhara is powerful, and even though there's a lot of things that stand in our way, if we put our effort in, then God helps. And I'll just point out that you could turn around to God, meaning you should approach Hashem and make a prayer. And I do it myself sometimes. Sometimes, things are difficult. And you turn and you say, Hashem, I'm trying. Please help me to succeed. I'm trying to be careful not to get angry. Or I'm trying to be not arrogant. Or I'm trying to be more patient. Whatever it is you're trying to do. And you turn around and you say, Kadosh Baruch Hu, I'm putting effort in. Please help me. When one recognizes that he is not in control and he's doing the best he can, that itself gives a person siyata dishmaya, gives them the help of God to succeed in whatever they're trying to achieve. So we have to try and also throw in tefillah, obviously, prayer to God, that the effort that we put in, we recognize that it's effort, and it's not up to us to really change. It's up to, we need help to change. But that help doesn't have to be necessarily a psychologist or something like that, which again, if one needs, definitely should take it. But we don't have to always, help is also can be from above. Help doesn't, even when someone goes to a psychologist, I think even then, definitely you should approach with tefillah as well. Even if one is going to a psychologist, so the psychologist can't really, he can help, he can direct you, he can kind of make you realize what you're thinking about, but he can't change you. The fight is up to you. I remember when I was a bocher, I once, one of my mashgichim, my rabbis in the a supervisor in yeshiva, so he came up to me and said to me something about being late to davening or not learning seriously enough. I said to him, Rabbi, if you want, you could take my Yetzirah, beat him up, and give him back to me. I'm more than happy, right? It's my Yetzirah. I'm struggling with him. Take him, beat him up, give him back to me, and I'll be okay. But right now, this is my struggle. No one could really help you to fight your Yetzirah. Not a psychologist, not help, not therapy. Yes, they can direct you. They can try and support you. They can try and inspire you. But in the end of the day, it's up to you. But that also, when it's up to you, is only the ishtadlus. You still need God to help you out in the end of the day. So you have to have that balance of it's up to me. I have to put the effort at the same time, knowing that effort really needs Hashem. So if I approach with tefillah, I'm recognizing that, and then a person gets more support from Hashem and more siyata d'shmaya to succeed. Okay.
For if he is not compassionate towards himself, who will show him compassion? This is similar to what our rabbis of blessed memory.
Wait, you skipped a bit. But if he does not, however, I don't know what the words would be.
But if he does not oversee his conduct, certainly the Holy One, blessed be he, will not watch over him.
Right. Keep going.
For if he is not compassionate towards himself, who will show him compassion? This is similar to what our rabbis of blessed memory have said. It is forbidden to pity anyone who has no intelligence. And elsewhere they've said, if I'm not for myself, who will be for me?
Right. So this is the last point he's making is, because if you don't focus on yourself, why would God help you? A person says, I don't feel spiritual in my life. I don't know about Judaism. It doesn't really talk to me. You ever heard that from friends? I don't know about Judaism. It doesn't really talk to me. You are a Meshiganer if you say that, because you didn't put any effort. Why would God even talk to you? There's no point. If a person doesn't care about himself, no, Judaism is not for me. What's the last time you put anything into Judaism? What is it, right? How good is a steig? It's a mind-changing thing, Benji Michelson, right? Because why? Because a person is putting effort. But when a person doesn't put effort and he just sits there and he says, Judaism doesn't really talk to me. I've been in school and it never really spoke to me. So I don't really, I kind of figured it out and I realized that it's not for me. Meshikana, you went to school. Your teachers had to try and discipline you while they're trying to give you some sort of inside understanding of Judaism. You couldn't care less because you were busy with what goes on in schools. And then when you walked out of school, Judaism doesn't really talk to me. Did you ever sit down and think about Judaism? Did you ever put an hour into trying to read something about Judaism by yourself? Just sit there and try to read something. If a person didn't do that, when he turns around and he says, Judaism doesn't really talk to me, this is what the Mesilat is saying. It's a person that never put effort into it. For sure, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will not support him. That's what he's saying. Vadai in Hebrew. Vadai she'HaKadosh Baruch Hu lo yifakeh olav. Definitely HaKadosh Baruch Hu won't give him any help. Vadai means definitely, right? And that's what he says. Kol mi she'ein bo yedea. Anyone that does not have. What was the words there, Sean? Anyone that doesn't have
compassion.
No, the one after from Brachot.
Forbidden to pity anyone who has no intelligence.
Anyone that has no intelligence. What does that mean? He's no intelligence. It doesn't mean he's not a smart. If he's not a smart guy. No intelligent means that he's not looking at himself. He's not trying to conduct himself in a normal way. If a person, example, is a pothead, all day is smoking. He's no intelligence. He's not that he's not a smart guy. He might get through uni, but he's not intelligent because he doesn't think about life. He's not thinking about himself. That's no intelligent. Also, lerachim olav. You cannot have mercy on such a person. And I've seen it in life. Sometimes you invest time into people and you keep investing time into them, but it's like a waste. It's such a waste of time because they couldn't care less. And then you find you're wasting energy, and you should not be wasting that energy because you could put that energy in so much more productive places. So when we say it's forbidden to have mercy on such a person, it does not mean that I don't pity such a person that he's going through his life like that. It means I cannot invest energy into that person till I can see that that energy is worthwhile, that there's some sort of a benefit in that energy that I'm putting in. But if we don't see that, then it's forbidden. As he ends off, mi im eina nili mili. It's the famous thing. If I'm not for myself, who will be for me? Which means if you don't put effort into yourself, forget about it. Don't expect people to put it into you. This is a big mistake often that you find in more traditional shuls. They get rid of the rabbi. Why they get rid of the rabbi? Because he hasn't inspired our children, and they don't come to the synagogue. And the only ones that come are like people in the 80s. They have to say Kaddish, right? Because it's their yard site. So you have like 80 people. 9 of them are saying Kaddish and the rabbi, right? That's what happens. And then they want to fire the rabbi because he's not inspiring our community. That's a ridiculous thing because of course, if a rabbi is not good, get rid of him. I'm not saying not. But what I'm saying is that the fact that your kids are not there, there's a lot to blame on yourself if your kids are not there. And that is because you didn't take care of your family. Im eina nili, if you're not for yourself, who will be for you? Don't expect the world to inspire you to grow. You have to inspire yourself to grow. The way you inspire yourself to go, you join a shiur, you learn, you search, you find the rabbi you like learning with, and you put that effort. But don't sit back and expect everything to be fed to you and inspire me. Rabbi, can you inspire me? You feel sometimes like an ATM machine, you know? Someone called me on Friday. You have a Dvar Torah for me? Like, here you go. Press the code and out comes inspiration, right? That's how people want. They want to come to shul, you know, walk in, sit back, schmooze to their friends throughout davening, and then the rabbi will get up and the rabbi will say, you have to realize how special you are. And you are a Jew, and that's amazing, and you came to shul, and you are a special human being. You're the best human being in the world. And go home and tell your family that you are the most special people. And then after shul, the rabbi must make sure to say good Shabbos to every single guy, because God forbid you didn't give enough attention to every 40-year-old, 60-year-old man that's in shul that is seeking attention, because God forbid the rabbi didn't say good Shabbos and recognize my existence and inspire me. So you have to have a backbone of your own growth and look after yourself and be self-inspired. If that means you're reading a book for yourself, sometimes not everything will come constantly by someone stuffing it down your throat. We live in a world like that everything has to be brought to our table. But really, one that wants to grow will have to look after himself. No one can look after you if you don't look after yourself. And of course, you can go up to the rabbi and ask him for something inspiring and so on. Yes, of course you can do that, if that's a bonus onto your hard work that you're doing. But if that's your only thing, Rabbi, I'm not so inspired, inspire me, and that's what you do. That's your Judaism. Then you're in big trouble. And that's what he ends off. Imeina nili mili. So just to summarize chapter 2, the Mesilat Yesharim is saying a person has to really visit his ways. He has to reflect. And he's pointing out very strongly, if a person will not reflect, he's putting himself in danger. He's less than the animal, because the animal is living his life and he knows to stay away from things that are dangerous. And a human being that's not reflecting will not stay away from things that are dangerous to him. He pointed out that the Yetzer Hara tries to keep us busy, that we have no time to reflect, as busy as possible. Next to that, Ari put Corona, which points out, you know, once Corona comes in and everyone's sitting at home, suddenly you realize how busy we usually are. and how really we never really have time to reflect. But now that we're sitting back and everyone's like, not as busy as we used to be, so there's much more time to reflect, and we see how much the Yetzer Hara is using that tool of making us busy. We pointed out that that's what Paro did, that's what the Nazis did. They kept the Jews constantly busy, that they couldn't reflect and couldn't plan and couldn't do anything to get themselves out of the problem that they were in. And we said that in the end of the day, even if you focus, you have to know that you need God's, it's very hard without God's help. So a person has to know that he has to put his effort in, and then don't try and figure out how you're going to succeed. Just put in the effort, and the rest will be up to God to help us out to achieve that. We add the davening, which is not mentioned here. But then we said, if you're not going to have a backbone of your own growth, don't expect to get it from some inspiring ATM machine, right? You're going to have to do it yourself. You have to have a backbone. So that's pretty much a summary of chapter 2. Okay, makes sense? Was that yeah? Okay, great. Let's continue just a little bit more. 1 minute. We'll start the next. I don't like ending in the end of a chapter. I like starting the next. Okay.
Yeah. The elements of vigilance. 2 methods are necessary for one who wishes to oversee his conduct. On the one hand, he must ponder what constitutes the true good that a person should choose and the true evil that he should flee from.
Right. Second.
On the other hand, he must see if his own deeds are good or evil. This applies both to deeds at the time of their performance and to deeds performed in the past.
Okay. So he's saying here there's 2 elements of viewing ourselves. So now the Mesilat Yesharim is saying, how does one acquire, how do you reflect? Everyone says reflect. Reflect. What does it mean? How do I reflect? So it says the Mesilat Yesharim, and he's starting off, and we won't go into it too much, by saying a person first reflecting has to be, what do I want to get? What is good and what is bad? What is good and what is bad? Reflect on that. And then the second one is on the actions that you're doing. Are they part of the good? Are they part of the bad? So again, what is good? What is bad? Is it good to look after my health? Or is it, is it good to look after my spirituality? Is it good to learn? Is it good to be on the TV a lot? Is it good to be on Instagram a lot? Is it not good? What's good? What's bad? Then once I define what's good and what's bad, now I start looking at my actions and I start thinking, okay, am I doing more good or more bad? Well, I'll give you a simple example just to end off with this. So a person's thinking, what's good, what's bad? And there's a little bit of banter, and he does a little bit of banter. Okay, fine. But then he realizes that a lot of his banter is negative. Okay? Last night I was in a group. When we broke up the groups, I said something I think that I said a little bit negative, which I was reflecting about it after. I realized I shouldn't have said something negative. I should have said something more positive, right? But for some reason, I said something negative. I said, I hate technology, and maybe I should have said something positive, right? So you reflect on that. So that's reflecting on the action. But before I reflect on the action, there's good and there's bad. So I say good attitude and a bad attitude, negative versus positive. And then you have to reflect, okay, in my actions. So I decided that positive is much better than negative, a positive attitude versus a negative attitude. So now I have to look, when I talk to people, do I have a positive attitude? Yesterday, when we broke into groups, did I say something positive or did I say something negative? Now I'm aware I said something negative, and I decided that negative is not the approach. So therefore, I'm reflecting now on what I did. Why did I say it? And I shouldn't have said that. I should have said something positive. So that's a way to reflect on something we're doing. But first, the question was, what's the difference between a positive attitude and a negative attitude? And then the question is, okay, how is my actions? Are my actions positive attitudes or negative attitudes? That's the approach. Okay, makes sense? Any questions? We're ending with that. So anyone wants to leave, they could leave. But any questions? Yes, Ari.
When it comes to these sorts of things, like especially when you're looking at like medicine stuff, like how is it possible to say what's objectively good? Because isn't it like dependent on the situation? Like there could be a situation where you have to be like aggressive, but you wouldn't necessarily agree that being aggressive is appropriate in all situations. And then there would be times as well that you need to be kind. But in some situations, like if a guy's like hustling you on the street and you're running to get to Minion or whatever, like then it wouldn't be good to be kind in that situation and patient, because you need to, like, you're in a rush to get somewhere. So there you would have to be aggressive. Like, isn't it all dependent on the situation, and it's impossible to define that?
Okay,
like,
so
you look at the situation first and then decide what's appropriate.
Okay, so let's try and break that down. So negative kind and aggressive. So I don't know if that's the two opposites, but let's say they are. Let's say they are. Okay, so kind and the opposite of kind, whatever the opposite of kind is.
Yeah.
So what's better, to be a kind person or not? Should one be kind?
Depends on the circumstance.
No, in general, should one be a kind person? If someone's calling me about a shidduch, trying to find out about Benji Michelson, and he wants to know, is Benji Michelson a kind individual? I would say, Benji, you're definitely a kind individual, a very kind individual, right? Does that mean Benji is always kind, or when he has to get things done, he pushes, in Orsim, he wants things done, so he pushes the guys and he says, guys, you have to get to work. That doesn't mean he's not kind. It means he understands that under the circumstance, he has to make sure things are done. But it doesn't mean he's not a kind individual, right? It wouldn't be kind if he was harsh and he spoke not nicely. So I'll give you an example, going back to your example. You're on the way to shul, and some guy stops you on the street and he wants directions, and you gave him, and then you realize he's just a little bit bored because he hasn't seen anyone from the coronavirus, and he just wants to talk to someone. Right? He's tired of not talking to anyone. So he starts schmoozing, but you have to get the Minion because it's already past the coronavirus, whatever. So you have to get the Minion. Okay? So if you say to him, sorry, sir, don't bother me, go find someone else. If you're bored, don't do it here, go do it somewhere else, and you walk off. That was not kind. But if you said to him, sorry, I would love to help you and I would love to schmooze to you, I'm in a big rush, and you walked off, you're kind. You didn't help him out because you didn't have the time, but it doesn't mean you weren't kind. You follow? So when you have to be tough with someone, if you have to be tough with your child, example, doesn't mean I'm not kind. I love my child, I'm very kind to him, but part of being kind to him is educating him and teaching him and rebuking him when necessary, right? So you have to decide, if someone called me about a shidduch and said to me that they're not a kind individual, I wouldn't want anyone dating such a person because he's not a kind individual. You want to date someone that's kind. But kind does not necessarily mean that under circumstance they're soft and they always give in. So that's why you have to check the action. But the action, it does not. But if you are not kind with a person, even when you're in a rush, you say, sorry, sir, you're wasting my time. I believe that even if you're in a rush, there's no excuse for that. And that means you're not a kind individual. Follow the difference.
Yeah. But then couldn't there be like a stirrer between your actions and what you think is good then? Because it's good to be kind, and maybe like you won't be like completely the opposite, like you would like be rude, but like surely by not helping him, you're not being as kind. Like you agree that objectively it's good to help or have this conversation with this guy who wants to do something. But
unfortunately, I can't do it right now, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't do it right now. So that means that I thought it through, and I'm not contradicting what I hold. I hold it is a kind thing, but unfortunately, I can't do it. Do I hold it's a good thing to now organize masks for people at hospitals, for the nurses and the thing? But I don't have those capabilities, so I can't provide that. So do I contradict my actions? Are my actions contradicting my mindset? The answer is no, because I just can't do it. Same thing here. You can't do it. You can't always be to your kids nice, even though you hold that you should be kind to your children, but to always be kind, that you can't always do that because that's not productive. Doesn't mean I disagree with that I'm contradicting myself. It just means I can't do it always because it's not going to be the right way to go about it. That's what it means. So it's not contradiction. I hold that I can't do it right now. That's what we're saying.
Mm.
Yeah, makes sense? Okay, any other questions?
I have a question, but it's about before the end of chapter.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm not disagreeing. I mean, who am I to disagree with the Mesilat Yesharim? But I don't understand. Like, surely it's worse to have put in efforts to learn things and to grow, but that, or like, it's about being like informed, right? And if you don't actually acquire knowledge about it, surely that's better than having knowledge but then not acting upon it. If I'm struggling to word this question again.
Again, on which part are you asking? On the part in the end?
It is forbidden to pity anyone who has no knowledge. So I'm saying,
Right.
surely it's worse to have knowledge and not act upon it, like in terms of inspiration and growth, surely. And like, I mean, the fact that there is kiruv in communities, it's showing that efforts being put into people who have no knowledge and bringing them to that knowledge.
Right. So it's very good. So I don't think a person that has a lack of understanding something means that they have a lack of knowledge. When I say a lack, she'ein bo deya means that he behaves. She'ein bo deya means that he's not using his intellect in the right capacity. Meaning, if someone is not smart, so he's not smart. But if someone has an intellect and he's ignoring that intellect, then that's a problem. So you're right, kiruv is being done, but I believe that kiruv has been done, meaning it's trying to help people that are actually thinkers. So I'll give you an example. I always say, people say, well, in kiruv, what do you do? So I said, really, the way I put it is, you facilitate for people that are growing. You're not making people grow. People want to grow. You just facilitate. You just provide certain things. You support it. You have them over for Shabbos meals. You facilitate it. But really, the growth comes from the individuals. I'll tell you why. Because certain guys don't get involved, and certain guys are very far, even though they, enjoyed it and took part. I can think of people that were extremely inspired at the time on the trip, and one girl was crying and said, "It's going to change my life, this speech." But today she's nowhere to be found. And I believe that that's what he's referring to. He's referring to a person that really has the intellect and doesn't use it, but not someone that's lacking a element of knowledge, which means they don't know. If you don't know, then obviously there's obligation to try and facilitate that lack of knowledge. But if someone is not connected, if someone understands, but then chooses a different way, and that's why I use a guy that's smoking weed all day. It's a person you can't really speak to, or a person that's I don't know, that's really off the radars, like couldn't care less about anything. He's not even conducting himself in relationship with his parents normally, and that's a person that has no knowledge. We're not talking about a person that's that understands, that thinks, that has relationships and so on. That's I think the difference. I'll give you an example. There's a guy that unfortunately has been through a tough time, but the guy is behaving with no knowledge. And what does that mean? He's drinking, he's arguing on stupid things. He's not being, when it comes to trying to sort his world out, there's no intellect involved. It's all anger. It's all like bad character traits. That's all that's involved in his decisions. So under that circumstance, you can't really help that guy. And you're wasting energy because there's nothing to talk to. So if you leave the door open, you say, look, if you ever want to talk, I'm more than happy to help. But he's going to have to try and reach out, because otherwise you kind of like really just supporting a person in the ways that they're going more than actually helping them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but
you don't think that's what he means?
No, I'm looking at it differently now, but I still think people that aren't helping themselves in that sense, should be the biggest target, because they often just need someone to come and help them and pull them out of that lack of intellect, because they clearly don't see what's going on in and what they're doing to themselves, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I hear, and that's that. There's a lot of truth to that. I'll give you one more. I'll go for it one more time. See how we go. But I agree with you. It is a tough question, and I learned this before with a group of older women, and they also struggled exactly with this idea. So I'll give one more example, which I think might point out what the Mesilat Yesharim is saying. And again, your question I think will still remain, but I just want to give another insight into it. My brother in Israel, I have a brother. His name is Shlomo. He has a yeshiva, kind of a yeshiva for kids that went off the derech. So kids from religious homes that kind of their family is broken or whatever, and they come and they were on the street, some of them, and eventually they end up in his yeshiva institution, whatever we want to call it. They come and he tries to help them out. One boy got a skeleton tattoo on his arm with a hole, 2 holes. From one hole there's coming out flowers. I just want to picture to you the type of guys. So he said to my brother, asked him, what is this tattoo? So he said, it's that people shouldn't look at the external, they should look at the internal. So the skeleton has, no one get ideas, okay? Don't get this tattoo. But it's a skeleton head, and there's a flower coming out, meaning there's beauty inside, but obviously the skeleton, the external, looks ridiculously horrible, a skeleton face, not as like a head of a skeleton, so it's kind of a crazy tattoo, but you can see where the kid is holding. He doesn't like the fact that people judge him on how he looks and don't judge his internal and his neshama and whatever. So he deals with such boys. But even in that place where he takes really broken people, there was under certain circumstances, there's people that you say, see you later. You do so much for them and you try to help them so much, and they don't even start thinking about themselves. They don't even, there was one guy who was helping him that he shouldn't get, a kid that was helping him that he took him to the dentist and took him to, but the kid couldn't care less. There was as if the kid wasn't even, there was no intellect. But when I say no intellect, he was a smart guy. You can have a conversation with him. But there was no intellect from the point of view of the effort that was put into him, to try and get his teeth fixed for free. A dentist was willing to do it for free. My brother organized it and got his teeth done and so on. But when his friend that was, let's say my brother has one rule: don't smoke weed inside the yeshiva. You want to smoke weed? Go out. Walk for 10 minutes and smoke it. Don't smoke it inside the yeshiva. And don't bring a girl inside the yeshiva. That's the 2 rules. That's it. And this guy, after all the effort that's put into him, comes and smokes. And you ask him, why do you smoke inside the yeshiva? Why did you walk 10 minutes? I don't know. Well, that's like no intellect. That's what we're talking about. A person like that, you can't have mercy on such a person, because he's just being a meshugana. Now he's a smart guy, but he couldn't be bothered. That's I think what he's referring to. And I'm saying it doesn't answer your question, because I hear your question. Shouldn't we say, oh, but this is the guy that needs the most help, because look how bad he is. And the answer is, you're right. He is in a very, very bad situation. But I don't know. I don't know if there's what to do. I don't know if it's permitted to put more energy into such a person, because you're limited in the amount of energy you got. And perhaps that's what he's saying. I'm just putting it out there. I know it doesn't answer completely your question, because I can hear your question is still sitting there a bit, in my opinion.
No, that helps a lot. Thank you.
Okay. Benji, any questions? Benji?
Nah, I'm all good, Rav. Been pretty good. Get a good steigen before the Pesach comes in. So thanks for that.
Amazing. Okay. Great, guys.
Thanks, Rav Channan.
Have a beautiful, beautiful Pesach.
Thank you.
And shkoyach for all the people that are religiously involved in this. come every day. That's unbelievable. Shkoyach.
Thank you.
Okay. All the best. Beautiful.
Bye.
Keep in touch. Bye.